Hello viewers, welcome to another week of Catholic Talk. I'm Joseph and this is James.
Hello. Alright, so Joey, what are some pro-choice arguments?
Well, they deny the personhood of the embryo and therefore claim that there's no crime.
But the newborn infant is only different from the fetus by a matter of location, level of development, environment, degree of dependency on their mother, etc.
Also, the child isn't even part of the mother. It's an entirely different being.
They say the BYU, or being in womb, is not a member of community and lacks human functions like self-motivation, reason, self-consciousness, or ability to communicate.
Well, being human isn't dependent on functioning as humans. Some people lack these qualities like self-motivation and they're still considered humans. Another argument brought up is viability. Aristotle, the classic philosopher, he had once said, quote, "The line between lawful and unlawful abortion will be marked by the fact of having sensation and being alive," end quote. This holds little weight because viability depends now on technology, which is constantly changing.
A radical pro-choice would claim infanticide as morally acceptable on many of the same reasons, because a child has very few of these functions.
Yeah.
But this claim denies the personhood of the child, where many other pro-choice advocates would draw the line of viability and being officially human.
Well, the embryo is undeniably human. And the Catechism even states that, quote, "The inalienable right to life of every innocent human individual is a constitutive element of a civil society and its legislation," end quote. That's from paragraph 2273 from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. The baby has a right to live by the rights granted by natural and political law.
Of course. And away from the personhood of the child, pro-choice advocates would argue that the supposed quality of the child's life can be acceptable grounds for ending the possibility of that life. It is argued that every child should be a wanted child, and because an unwanted child could have a difficult life, every child should be a healthy child, because a child that might have serious defects could potentially have a difficult life and make the parents' lives more difficult. The health of the woman, because the woman shouldn't be subjected to a painful birth, or should maintain the right to abort if she doesn't think she's ready for the child. And finally, to improve the quality of life for the whole world by preventing overpopulation.
I would argue the gravity of possible inconveniences, and if they even justify death in general. Would not being wanted justify immediate death, as it's not considered to do this to a born child for the same reason? Also, this denies the possibility that the child will never be wanted, which is improbable at best. I would ask the question, does being wanted give a person their dignity? The Church clearly teaches that the human dignity comes from being a beloved child of the Father.
Of course, and as for the handicap problems, I would say that these pre-birth predictions can be wrong, so this is not solid grounds to
it doesn't hold much weight.
Place murder. And it is not morally acceptable to spare a person their life for the difficulties they might have in it. For example, many a soldier grew up only to be mentally messed up by post-traumatic stress disorder. And no one would ever think of murdering a child because they might grow up to serve their country in war and survive and have this disorder, and that would give them great suffering and mental defects. There's a psychological difference, I think, between killing before and after birth, when in reality there's no difference.
I agree. They say abortion would benefit the mother or the father, as this thought just came up. This is most certainly untrue. Some research a while back shows that post-abortion mothers had a much higher rate of suicide. I have a citation in here. According to a 1986 study by researchers at the University of Minnesota, a teenage girl is 10 times more likely to attempt suicide if she has had an abortion in the last 6 months than is a comparable teenage girl who has not had an abortion. 10 times. It goes on to state that similar results are found among adults. In addition, it begs the question, can you kill one person to benefit the other? The clear logical answer to this is absolutely not. It's been proven that the majority of women are seriously negatively damaged by a condition commonly called post-abortion syndrome, discussed as such, quote, "The issue of post-abortion syndrome, namely the severe psychological problems commonly experienced by women who have had an abortion voluntarily, reveals the irrepressible voice of moral conscience and the terrible wound it suffers each time a human action betrays the human being's innate vocation to good," end quote. Now, that was by our Pope Emeritus, Benedict XVI.
And as for population, the answer is, it's a problem, but it's not a very viable problem. It's pretty far out of the best.
Yeah, I agree.
And the answer is clearly not the relentless slaughter of the young and the most innocent among us. Because, as a quote, "Abortion resolves nothing. Rather, it kills the child, destroys the woman, and blinds the conscience of the child's father." That's by Pope Benedict XVI.
That's a good one.
Pope Benedict says quite clearly, "Abortion accomplishes nothing positive at all. It only causes harm to everyone involved."
That's good. One of this thought just came up as well. I'm very off the wall today. One of the predominating arguments is that of defending women's rights. They say she has no duty to the child, or she may defend herself against the child, and they use the argument of, "It is my body, and I have the right to choose what I want to do with it." It's claimed that abortion is withdrawing support to an intruder to the woman's body, and that she can expel at any time. This thought was supported by the late Margaret Sanger, who said that, and I quote, "No woman can call herself free who does not control her own body," and I quote.
Well, the thing is, the BYU, of being in the womb, is anything but an intruder, being her own flesh and blood. In Scripture, the case of the prostitutes before King Solomon, the real mother had such a desire for her child's well-being that she gave him up. Quote, "The woman whose son it was alive said to the king, because her heart yearned for her son, 'O my Lord, give her the child, and by no means slay it.'" 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 26. Children have a right to mothers who care for them above all else, because that is the duty of parents. But back to physical rights. Children have a right, on the same reason of logic that is, their body to not be destroyed. And they maintain that right. A woman, and also for a woman withdrawing her support. In abortion, they do not. The doctors just go in and they invade and they kill the body.
Yeah,
kill
of
the
course.
baby and they take out the body.
That's an awfully good point.
Also, an argument that causes great division, even in Christian churches, is the cases of hard rape. Hard cases of rape. Many Christians and atheists alike hold it to be reasonable that abortion is justified in cases of rape where the child's unwanted and unexpected. They think it best to spare the woman the pain of constantly being reminded of her misfortunes by simply eradicating said fetus. She has suffered enough at this point, and we need to do our part by helping her move on with her life.
Abortion, if anything, is exponentially counterproductive in this case. It's a lose-lose situation there. The woman who has suffered a crime such as rape needs love and comfort at this point. Definitely not more violence, especially violence that takes place inside of her own body, such as that. With the chemicals they use, and it's very potentially dangerous to internal organs. It's very similar to what we had discussed previously.
Yeah, back to equal moral value of people. One person cannot be placed above another.
Yeah.
All lives hold equal value morally, and it is simply unfair to assume that an abortion is morally justified because you consider it, the fetus, a lesser being, when in reality it is absolutely not.
Yeah, Don't misunderstand me on this. I don't hold the woman in the same respect as the abortionists per se. She's undergone a severe amount of trauma at this point, and she's very unstable. She's in an unstable state of mind. My opinion can be well worded by Tony Blair. Right here it says, here we go. "However much I dislike the idea of abortion, you should not criminalize a woman who, in very difficult circumstances, makes that choice."
Of course, we wouldn't dream of criminalizing them for this, because they're in a hard state of life at this point. But it is a common belief among pro-choice population that abortion will assist the mother in moving on with her life, when in reality it will not. Abortion, in fact, brings no healing where the child would bring the eventual comfort and healing that it would bring through love, and that abortion would leave the mother with a void where her child was meant to fill. It would increase her guilt, and it's demonstrated by Scripture, by King David's grief about losing a child. He says, my son, Absalom, would I had died instead of you. O Absalom, my son, my son. That was from 2 Samuel, chapter 18, verse 33b.
That's good. Samuel's a good one.
Yeah. This also leaves this action of abortion after rape. It would leave a sense of personal guilt.
Yeah.
How the mother killed her own child, and how she committed a crime equal to that of the rapist or greater, and would possibly help her relate to the rapist, however scary that seems.
Yeah, wow. That gives some food for thought. Well, I believe it's safe to say that this has been a very constructive discussion.
Yeah.
I hope that we have stirred something up inside those pro-choice out there who are listening, or even changed your mind entirely. And to our pro-life listeners, keep fighting for our helpless young. As always, God bless and have a good day.